Welcome to Jurassic World.
Guests, welcome to the Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. Coming in May, book your tickets now for the exciting new exhibit Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And here we are to discuss minute 16 of Jurassic World. But before we get to that, David, going over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, I only realised when I was going through and archiving all the shows recently, we only started talking about Jurassic-Pedia about halfway through the Jurassic Park 3 minute when we get to the lab. And at that time, we're sort of just going off any new stuff being posted up there and some of the sort of referencing material to what we'll talk about in the minutes. Since then, we've sort of been talking mostly about referencing the minutes we're discussing, but there's still new stuff going up there, and one thing that went up on the discussion page on Facebook, which I thought we needed to talk about, was the Vista View for Jurassic Park and what was filmed, what wasn't, and how or what could have been.
Well, yeah, one of the things with Jurassicpedia that we've always wanted to do is basically just continued research of the franchise. There's so many details in this franchise, so many things to reanalyze and look over. I mean, there's a lot of times I'll basically just rewatch the movies just looking for new details I've not noticed before, and then making write-ups about them. But this was one of those things where I was looking through my old some of my old photos here, and one of them was a scan that I did out of the Jurassic Park storybook. And in that photo, in that picture, which I think is actually reversed now, because looking back at it and comparing it to another photo posted by Julius Romero of the Jurassic Park Origins project, is he posted a photo of a deleted scene where the explorers pass this kind of wide open cliff face and look down into this big tree covered valley. And in the background, you can kind of see the same kind of mountain range that is in the tree shot that we see in the storybook image that I scanned.
Definitely that clearing too. That clearing.
Yeah. And that connects back to something that was kind of scripted and storyboarded and I think filmed, was something called the Vista of You. It was basically a short clearing in the trees where you look down into a valley and there's a herd of Brachiosaurus there. I think this was that. And in fact, there was even a alternate take in the Welcome Jurassic Park scene where Hammond tells Alan and Ellie that they'll see the Brachiosaurus again later on the tour, which presumably would again be that same herd that we see Grant making calls to in the tree for my bed scene.
Yeah, I do remember when they posted up that photo of these two explorers on that road. The fact that they've got the explorers there, they've laid the trackway down, they've done all the work to film these scenes. We've only ever seen this one still. I think Joseph Malazzo, I can't remember.
Yeah, as you brought up, Joe Mazzella actually brought this scene up when he did the commentary on YouTube for the Jurassic Park rewatch with him. That was a couple weeks ago, I think now. And he mentions that they shot the scene, but his dad wouldn't let him be in the car, so they had a stunt double because his dad was afraid the cliff would be too unstable.
Well, the fact that someone's in the back driving and he's just going off those front cameras and following the trackway, and in the shot here you can see the side that bank's not too far away from the side of the cars. So
no, it is not. In fact, it almost reminds me of some of the coastal driving trails that they had in California, Northern California, where you've got a cliff face on one side of you and the Pacific Ocean on the other side of you, and you get 7 feet of road, and that's all you get.
Yeah. And again, it's just something from more little tidbits here from Jurassic Park of stuff that must exist somewhere. We're just not seeing it, whether it's destroyed or whatever else.
And it just kind of presses even more the need of I don't know what you would call it, assembly cut, Jurassic Park trilogy, the assembly cut, where you basically take all these deleted scenes, and they got to be out there. There's so many stills of so many of them out there. Some of them had to have been saved from the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And basically what they need to do is just reinsert them, clean them up, reinsert them, release the first 3 movies in 4K with all of these deleted scenes back in. I know it would sell incredibly well.
Yeah, every fan would want it.
We want the extended trilogy, and it's kind of the opposite with Star Wars fans. They want the original theatrical cut so bad, and Disney won't do it. We want the extended trilogy so bad, and Universal won't do it.
Yeah, it's a shame. After this 6th film, we want a big box set. Do it.
Yeah.
Celebrate 6 films in this franchise spanning 32 years or whatever it will be by then.
Mm-hmm. Did you boys serve in the armed forces? Afghanistan, sir! Did your general ever fly into battle with you? Oh! Got it!
Also been real busy over the last couple of weeks trying to get all our past episodes archived. I think the iTunes store only shows the last 100 episodes, so a lot of people coming into Lost World won't be able to see those earlier minutes. So now I've been able to get everything archived. First up on Google Drive, you can get every episode of the Lost World Minute and Jurassic Park 3 Minute on 2 separate drives there. All the links are on the website, and I've also started uploading the weekly podcasts over onto our YouTube channel. But please just take in mind there that you're probably going to be a week behind when the podcast actually released, because I've got to take that file to work and get it converted to video and all that sort of stuff. So head over to the website. It as well has been a little bit forgotten about the last little bit, but head over there. You'll see the archive section for Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 3 Minute and the Lost World Minute, and also you can go over to our YouTube channel, links there as well, just to more ways, David, to ingest the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dave, just more ways, more places for our listeners to be able to get the show and be able to listen to past episodes.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I know that we've had a couple of people asking how to get some of the older episodes, so that'll be great.
Yep, just spreading everything a bit further out there, making things a lot easier.
You're dead. You crazy son of a bitch, you're dead.
Alright, Dave, we're only getting minute 16.
Yep.
As we enter minute 15 of Jurassic World, Masrani dropped quite a bombshell, saying that he was carrying on Hammond's wish, and never once did he mention profits. As we open on minute 16, Simon says, "Don't forget why we built this place, Claire. Jurassic World exists to remind us of how very small we are, how new. You can't put a price on that. Now please, we're flying." At the 15-second mark, he faces forward and puts his sunglasses on and says, "Breathe," as the helicopter starts to power up for its descent. At the 24-second mark, we pass a very familiar-looking waterfall. At the 27-second mark, as a very familiar Jurassic theme begins to play, not quite sure why it's in this film, the Masrani helicopter begins its descent to the indominus paddock, landing on the gravel in the construction site outside the fence. At the 39-second mark, we see a pair of heels step down onto the landings and in the gravel as Claire disembarks the helicopter. Masrani's already outside, walking around the front, staring up at the massive structure of the Indominus Rex paddock. Behind them, the trainer pilot is running for the foliage and vomiting heavily into the ferns. Claire asks Masrani, "Is he okay?" Then yells back to the man in the ferns, "Are you okay?" Simon calms her and says, "Don't worry, he's just being overdramatic." He looks up at the fence and asks, "Are you still building?" Claire says they plan to open in May, but asset containment wants the fences built higher, which is bigger than they expected. And as minute 16 ends, ominous music begins to play as Simon Masrani looks up at a welder, reinforcing the wall.
As we continue into minute 16, flying and the flying and chat continues. Simon cuts off Claire and says, another great line here, "Don't forget why we built this place, Claire. Jurassic World exists to remind us how very small we are, how new," which is something, again, just the wonder here of Jurassic World.
And that's another thing that I think that this the line I like, because it goes back to the novel where Grant ponders on how many people just really have this really difficult time conceiving of the concept of deep time. And I talk about this with my dad all the time whenever we're watching like something with like mountains or anything. It's like, how does it just get up there and like inch by inch over millennia? And it's just something that people have a hard time conceiving of, is like, say, a mountain just growing out of nothing over millions of years, you know?
Yep. Or even
humanity. What's that?
I was just going to say, even a stream carving its way through the rock and making a canyon, a river.
Exactly.
A gorge.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's or like the Grand Canyon. We're watching a special on the Grand Canyon the other night, and he just could not conceive of a river cutting through a mesa like that just eventually erodes it into a gigantic canyon, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's weird because, I mean, humanity has just been something, it's just something on this planet that is so new, and we've affected the planet, shaped it to our will so much that many geologists consider that we are in fact living in a new period of time that they dubbed the Anthropocene. And humanity has just reshaped the face of our planet in such a way, in such a short time, that it's easy to see why humanity would have a difficult time conceiving of this, of say a mountain or a pit forming on its own in millions of years, when we can do it within 5, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the mine pits that they have for coal or other things in the United States and Russia and in China and around the world, where they're just basically 2-mile deep pits in the world, and it's just something that we did over a couple of years. I mean, you can imagine how hard somebody who does that, it would be for them to consider it taking millions of years for that to happen naturally.
Yeah. Yep. And of course we want everything now straight away. We have no patience, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's only gotten worse. People are so impatient these days.
Yep. But also here we sort of, as I mentioned last minute, get a bit of this Jurassic Park theme or score here, which I don't think we need at all in this scene or in this flight. The Jurassic World theme was quite fine here, but Masrani continues, you can't put a price on that. Now, please, we're flying. which again, like, just one of them simplest things of being able to fly. You can't put a price on that either.
Yeah. I was going to say, that is true. I mean, you can calculate the money that it takes to go to some place like the Redwoods or the Grand Canyon, but looking at pictures just is not the same as being there. Not at all. And sure, you can put a price on the picture, you can put a price on the plane ticket, but you can't put a price on the experience. And in the end, that is what Masrani is talking about here. You can't put a price on seeing something like dinosaurs in person.
Yeah. Yep. That's, even now you go on vacation, you take all the photos in the world and bring back. That's just to try and keep your memory of the experience going. It's not to show others what your experience was like, because they weren't there, they weren't experiencing it.
Yeah.
But, that's when he puts his sunglasses back on and concentrates as they come into land. Says, now breathe. So he's starting to psych himself up now to be able to come in and land.
But yeah, just going back to that line again, real quick, about how it exists to remind us how new we are, and you can't put a price on that. You go to the museum and you see these bones, and you don't really connect with it as if you were to go to a zoo and see, say, an elephant in person versus the elephant's bones in a museum. You don't conceive just how truly massive and big these creatures are. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, when I went to the Redwoods and ran into a herd of elk, I've seen an elk stuffed in a museum before. I mean, it's not like I've never seen what one looks like. But seeing one, hearing it breathe, hearing how big it is, seeing how big it is, that is a whole different experience entirely.
Yeah, just being able to hear the sounds it makes.
Exactly. I mean, you feel that intimidation when you accidentally come up on a big bull elk, and it's staring at you, and from its head 7 feet up in the air.
Yeah. And that,
I mean, it just makes you feel small.
Yeah, unless you've got a really big sound system, having the T-Rex yell outside a car door is never going to come across to what that experience was actually like for the kids there in Jurassic Park, and yeah.
Or even seeing like a living T-Rex head. I mean, the animatronic head, the one-to-one animatronic head. That's got to be something to see,
Yeah, even that, just behind the scenes as they're rehearsing and stuff like that, would have been amazing. Outside, the chopper flies over the treetops and another ridge, and I know we've got to go back to Jurassic Park with the wind shears and that. Maybe flying through this terrain's not the best, but he seems to be flying a little low, close to the treetops as they're flying along here.
He's definitely giving his instructors thoughts.
I would love to comment. Just can we get a couple more feet altitude or something here? But as more as that JP score plays, we fly past Jurassic Falls, which far south on Nublar.
I don't actually think it's the Jurassic Falls. I mean, obviously it's the filming location, but I don't think it's supposed to be the same falls with the landing pad and all that in the course of the film itself. I'm sure Isla Nublar has 100 different waterfalls, Yeah, we see another one later in the movie.
Yeah, but the fact they're playing the Jurassic Park theme here as well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly meant to be a nostalgia nod to the fans. I mean, it's in the course of the movie itself. Now, of course, it's not the same waterfall, but to the fans who know and recognize it, they know what they're doing. That's why they have the theme and the helicopter fly past it and all that,
Well, I suppose too, the last time we've seen a helicopter flying on the island was a helicopter approaching that helipad as well.
Yeah.
Except for the evacuation, of course, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, the other thing too, until I've seen photos of the actual falls where they shot, it's it's a lot different the way it's filmed in that first movie. Those falls look like they're a mile high. Just the way it sort of comes in, it's two separate shots of the helicopter coming in, the one sort of area. But yeah, no, you got a point there.
Well, of course, that's the montage shot. The falls is not as high as they make it look, and you can kind of see that when they're in the jeeps pulling away from the scene.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it's that montage shot. It's meant to make it look bigger and more spectacular.
Yeah. Yep. But as the JP theme comes to an end, the helicopter lands rather hard down at the construction site on that gravel. There's no safety set up at all. I don't know if anyone knew they were coming. Everyone seems to just keep on working as normal. There's no surprise from the crews, but it just seems weird. Again, it's Masrani. He can do what he wants, but we're just going to come in and land at this construction site. And that's when we get a low shot of those high heels coming out. The helicopter's Claire steps out. We get that's the second time we've got that shot in this film.
Yeah.
We're going to get a couple more, but Masrani's already outside and standing in front of the helicopter as it's powering down. Oh, sorry, repeat it.
Sorry, I'm still laughing about it.
And that's when the instructor runs off into the foliage, and we can clearly hear vomiting sounds. He must have had some lunch or breakfast before this flight.
Yeah, they have some breakfast.
Claire asks, is he okay? And then Masrani sort of yells at him as he's running away, are you okay? To the instructor. But Masrani just keeps on walking forward, taking the area, and yells back, oh, he's just being dramatic. Which you got to wonder how much bribe money Masrani's giving the instructor to get him to pass the license. Because you'd think if he's still got 2 more tests yet and he's flying with disability, he probably should have been told a while back that you're not cut out to fly.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but now that it's out there, yeah, he's definitely giving some money to get this license.
Yeah. But that's when he looks up at the big wall here for the building, and he asks, are you still building? And Claire follows after him, fixing her hair. We planned to open in May, but Asset Containment insists we build the walls up higher. It's bigger than they expected. Which
is an interesting thing, because we know that this construction site, this pen is not meant to be temporary. From the viral site, they show that this pen is going to be the pen that it's in. This is where they're going to showcase it, and they're going to eventually build a whole kind of what's the word? They're going to build a whole stadium around it. So evidently, it's kind of weird that they would be building. They would have built it so short, even being that this was going to it was smaller than they expected. Sorry, I was trying to find the right words there. But yeah. Even if it's bigger than is expected, you'd think they'd still build it bigger, so it's not jumping up and swiping at people at the bottom in the front row seats.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm going back to when we started seeing this location, of course, being at Killua Ranch in Hawaii, and we've discussed numerous times before this being one of the only sets for the whole franchise still in existence. Just even though they've done some work on it recently to try and make it stay around for a bit longer, but it being a air quotes holding pen for this animal, it is up in the restricted zone as well. And we discussed when we're talking about the map and that the restricted zone is probably more so just a off limits area of the park, and when this would be built or finished and open to the guests, it'd be included in the main park area. The restricted zone line would go beyond it, and we'd probably have a monorail coming up here as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do have that concept art that I'll post up on the Facebook page of that Verizon Indominus Rex stadium, I'll call it. But it's sort of, I suppose we don't really know its growth. When We know it was born in 2005, wasn't it? It's 5 years old, or 2010. I'd have to go back to the Pedia article of when it was born, when we seen those eggs at the start of the film.
It is only a couple of years old. I do know that. It's not like it's been there for a couple years. I mean, for a couple decades. Yeah. It's not like the female T-Rex that we see later.
Yeah. I just wonder what point Wu and the lab have deemed the creature viable, that it's going to survive, and Claire and Masrani have said, well, we've got this animal, let's make an enclosure or an exhibit out of it.
Well, it's interesting because it's kind of left implied in the course of the movie that they just kind of dumped it here in this octagonal pen, and then they just kind of didn't. It and its sister didn't really get along, and the indominus just eventually ate her sister, and there's nothing they could really do about it.
Well, that raises a whole new question. You got this small enclosure that you're going to have two of them in. You're not making the enclosure bigger, floor plan wise. You're just making the walls higher.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. We know the set's only got 3 walls on it. It's not an enclosed paddock. Paddock 11, we'll find out it's called later on. But the fact that it's, when we look out from that viewing area, it does seem to be a lot larger than what it looks on the outside. But you're going to have 2 of these carnivores in here. It's almost as bad as having those 3 raptors in that holding pen.